Look around the architecture of the modern workplace. Observe the silent, exhausting suffering of the modern employee. Notice how they bleed their own vitality into a commercial machine that views their entire existence as nothing more than an expendable line item on a financial ledger. They arrive before the sun rises. They leave long after the darkness settles. They tether their sovereign identity, their internal peace, and their mental stability to a fleeting job title, an arbitrary performance review, or a superior's condescending nod of approval. When criticism strikes their desk, they do not merely lose a project. They act as if they have lost their very soul. They believe that caring deeply, worrying endlessly, and absorbing organizational chaos is a badge of honor. This emotional overinvestment is not loyalty. It is a profound psychological weakness. When you care deeply about a commercial enterprise that would replace you before your desk is cold, you willingly hand the keys to your nervous system over to predators. You classify yourself as livestock. You signal to the hierarchy above you that your territorial instincts are dead, your boundaries are non-existent, and your peace of mind can be ransomed for cheap verbal flattery. Today, we dismantle the architecture of your professional enslavement. We strip away the toxic hallucination that your corporate masters owe you loyalty, and we forge an iron mind capable of surviving any corporate storm. You believe your relentless loyalty guarantees your security? That is the most dangerous delusion in the modern world. The ancient Stoic masters understood a foundational law of human survival. Your internal will and your clinical execution belong entirely to you, but the corporate structure above you is governed by external chaos. When you tie your self-worth to a company's scorecard, you construct your mental foundation on shifting quicksand. You become an instrument governed by the shifting moods of superiors who do not know your value and do not care if you perish in their service. True sovereignty requires absolute emotional detachment from external results. You must treat the workplace not as a tribe or a surrogate family, but as a cold, impersonal proving ground where you sharpen your faculties without ever surrendering your soul. Now, examine the brutal reality of a sudden corporate elimination. You have sacrificed your weekends, ignored your family, and ground your physical health down to the bone for an organization for 10 solid years. You have exceeded every key performance indicator. You have generated tangible revenue for the division. Yet, on a cold Tuesday morning, a boardroom of executives you have never met decides to slash the departmental budget to pad their quarterly margins. In a brief digital meeting, your position is permanently erased. Your security evaporates. Your promised leadership title is wiped clean, and you are disconnected from the network without a second of hesitation. The emotionally overinvested worker suffers an immediate identity collapse. They fall into profound internal paralysis, overwhelmed by bitter resentment over the unfairness of a machine that consumed their youth and discarded their labor without a shred of remorse. Do not mourn the cold arithmetic of a commercial machine. Conquer your resentment and enact an immediate, chilling shift in your perception. Recognize that the corporate hierarchy is an external environment entirely outside of your sovereign control. You must operate like a massive iron anchor submerged beneath a raging ocean tempest. The surface waves of corporate restructuring may howl and crash above you, but down in the deep dark, the anchor remains immovable, entirely indifferent to the storm. Detach your self-worth from their scorecard immediately. From this moment forward, you execute your daily duties with surgical, clinical precision, but you withhold your soul. You sell them your time and your technical competence, but you never give them your emotional peace. When the structure shifts or the promotions are handed to the undeserving, you watch with the unblinking detachment of a scientist observing a laboratory experiment. You did your work flawlessly. What the machine does with your output is entirely irrelevant to your internal power. When you stop fearing job loss, an exploitative manager will attempt to deploy a deeper, more insidious poison to break your focus, the poison of calculated disrespect. The Roman masters governed empires surrounded by endless treachery and political deceit. Yet they understood that to feel harmed by the actions of another is a conscious choice, and where there is no feeling of harm, there is no injury incurred. The fragile mind absorbs workplace disrespect like a dry sponge. When subjected to credit stealing, condescending remarks, or aggressive communications from an insecure superior, the weak worker allows that external poison to infect their nervous system. They carry the insult into their private sanctuary. They lie awake at midnight, replaying the confrontation in endless loops of silent resentment. This emotional reactivity is the exact currency an exploitative superior seeks. By losing your internal composure over a calculated insult, you grant an arrogant manager total dominion over your mind. Consider a high-stakes operational presentation. You present a dense, 4-month strategic framework to your manager in private. The very next morning, that same manager stands inside the executive boardroom and confidently presents your exact methodology as his own original conception. When the executive board praises the strategy, your manager basks in the recognition and casually dismisses your presence in the room, referring to you as a basic assistant who merely formatted the slides. The untrained mind burns with immediate, uncontrollable rage. They want to shout, they want to complain to human resources, or they sulk in passive-aggressive silence, effectively destroying their own professional standing out of sheer emotional reactivity. Never allow another human being to regulate your internal temperature. You must practice emotional alchemy, the ancient art of transmuting psychological poison into high-octane kinetic fuel. View the insult not as a personal wound, but as raw physical friction. In the natural world, friction generates intense heat. The fragile man lets that heat burn him to ashes, but the cold strategist captures that energy and uses it to forge a sharper weapon. When a superior disrespects you or steals your credit, freeze all external emotional display. Do not flinch. Do not defend yourself with desperate verbal arguments. Look directly into their eyes with silent, penetrating indifference. When the meeting ends and you are alone with that manager, do not whine, and do not complain. Deploy your tactical verbal shield with absolute, icy precision. Look them in the eye and state flatly, I observed the presentation of my operational framework to the executive board today. For all future strategic deliverables, my name will remain explicitly attached to the core documentation, or the strategic analysis will remain exclusively within my private files. You did not scream. You did not beg. You set an undeniable perimeter of respect. Internally, take their betrayal and cast it directly into your mental furnace. Use that burning injustice as the exact motivation required to quietly build your lethal competence, upgrade your skill set after hours, and plot your strategic exit to a higher domain. Let their arrogance act as the blacksmith's anvil that shatters a striking hammer. They believe they are crushing your spirit, but they are merely hardening your resolve into impenetrable steel. If your daily mood depends on an executive's smile or a congratulatory email, you are not a professional. You are a psychological beggar? Seneca warned that whoever values himself based on the applause of the crowd is a slave to the crowd's folly. The modern office is populated by individuals starving for verbal approval, meaningless titles, and digital pats on the head from authority figures who view them as disposable machinery. Because their internal self-esteem is entirely hollow, they rely upon external validation to feel competent. This makes them ridiculously easy to manipulate, control, and exploit for unpaid surplus labor. When you crave your superior's praise, you voluntarily place a collar around your own neck and hand them the leash. Observe the pathetic reality of voluntary self-enslavement. It is a Friday evening, and you have critical personal boundaries, a family anniversary, a child celebration, or much-needed physical recovery. An exploitative manager approaches your desk and drops a manufactured crisis with an impossible deadline, whispering that you are the only reliable soldier capable of saving the department. The validation seeker instantly discards their personal life. You cancel your evening, you ignore your family, and you sit beneath the fluorescent lights until dawn, bleeding your energy into a screen, entirely to earn a single, automated sentence of praise on Monday morning. You are a team player. You have traded your life force and your personal sovereignty for a cheap neurochemical spike. You are trapped in a humiliating performance, dancing on strings pulled by masters who view your desperate need for approval as free, unlimited labor. Break this toxic conditioning immediately. When an exploitative manager attempts to dump unpaid, crisis-level workloads onto your desk disguised as a compliment, do not smile, and do not absorb the burden in silence. Look at them with a blank, unblinking stare, and deploy your boundary shield with absolute syntactic precision. My operational capacity for this week is fully deployed. If this strategic initiative requires immediate execution over the weekend, which of my current deliverables is being permanently reassigned to accommodate it? And how will this specific output be weighted in my compensation review? Notice how their warm smile instantly evaporates. You have dragged them out of emotional manipulation and forced them onto the cold ledger of professional commerce. Build a towering wall of psychological immunity between your mind and the opinions of the hierarchy. Understand that the judgments of your colleagues and superiors are low-resolution, fleeting illusions. An executive's praise does not make you more capable, and their condemnation does not make you less lethal. You must stand like a massive obsidian monolith in the middle of a barren desert. The howling winds of workplace manipulation and the shifting sands of management opinions may blow relentlessly against your surface, but they cannot scratch the stone. You remain absolute, silent, and self-contained. Construct an internal citadel of self-assessment. From this day forward, you are the sole judge, jury, and executioner of your own performance. When you complete a task, evaluate your own output against your own ruthless standards of perfection. If you know your execution was flawless, a superior's criticism falls to the floor like dead leaves. If someone offers you cheap flattery, observe it coldly without drinking the poison. You no longer work for smiles, titles, or corporate applause. You work solely to fortify your own sovereign mind. We now reach the absolute summit of mental endurance, the death of the corporate ego. To become genuinely untouchable in a world designed to exploit your labor, you must execute the ultimate internal sacrifice. You must systematically kill your ego? The ego is the fragile, complaining voice inside you that demands fairness, comfort, and stability. It is the pathetic part of you that cries out when chaos strikes, asking the void, "Why is this happening to me?" As long as that ego survives, you remain permanently vulnerable to the storm. The ultimate mental weapon is Amor Fati, the absolute, unconditional love of fate. You do not merely tolerate adversity and destruction. You actively desire it as the essential fuel for your evolution. Consider the absolute worst-case professional catastrophe. Without warning, your entire industry collapses under the weight of macroeconomic disruption. Everything you have built over the last 15 years, your professional status, your specialized identity, your financial comfort, is wiped out in a matter of weeks. You are stripped of your credentials and thrown into a cold, highly competitive marketplace that does not care about your past achievements. The ego-driven individual suffers complete psychological paralysis from this event. They collapse into profound resentment, viewing themselves as broken victims of an unfair world, permanently disabled by the loss of their corporate identity. Embody the inferno. When the corporate structure collapses around you, do not see a tragedy. See an open arena. Recognize that the violent destruction of your comfortable routine is the exact catalyst required to force your evolution to the next tier of human power. You must operate like a raging wildfire that consumes every dead branch cast into its path. What would extinguish a weak candle only makes the wildfire larger, hotter, and more terrifyingly magnificent. Step out of the wreckage of your professional setbacks without a single tear, without a single complaint, and without a single moment of hesitation. When they strip away your position, smile coldly into the void. You do not merely survive the obstacle. You become the obstacle. Let them take the title. Let them take the salary. Let them take the corner office. They can never touch the sovereign mind that has conquered itself. You leave the fragile masses to scramble in the dirt for corporate crumbs, while you walk forward into the unknown, carrying your entire kingdom within your own fortified will. When you stop caring deeply about the trivial, manipulative games of the modern workplace, you paradoxically gain total mastery over them. You become an unstoppable, lethal force because you no longer fear loss, you no longer crave validation, and you no longer bleed your energy into machines that view you as disposable. Your labor is a weapon you rent to the market for financial currency, but your mind is a fortress that belongs exclusively to you. Do not allow the corporate machine to turn you into livestock. Endure the friction. Become the monolith. Embody the wildfire. To continue forging your mind and to armor yourself against the psychological warfare of the modern world, study the full curriculum in our Stoicism and Mental Toughness playlist displayed on your screen right now. The tools to build an Unbreakable will are waiting for you there. Observe quietly. Speak less. Subscribe to Noble Habit to master mental fortitude and human psychology.